Hello and welcome to the Author's Lounge. My name is Paulette Henson, and I am super excited to welcome today my special guest on the show, and her name is Dr. Liisa L. Campbell. Lisa, welcome. How are you today?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm doing great, doing great. So, just to let our audience know, Lisa is going to be appearing on our cover feature for the month of November, and we're super excited to have her on today to talk about her book and journal, Grow With Me. So, Lisa, tell us about who you are and your writing journey, your book, all of that.
Absolutely. So, number one, I am Dr. Liisa L. Campbell from the Chicagoland area,
Woohoo!
and I am a wife, a mother, a grandmother. Am a young, tender age of 51. And you know
Nice.
that saying, you don't look like what you've been through.
Mm-hmm.
Over the last couple of years, I have really been working on getting rid of the things that no longer serve me. I've been in healthcare for 32 years,
Wow.
have owned a consulting company, and in the last 2 years have shifted out of healthcare consulting and now really focusing on mindset and growth coaching because I realize that many of us allow things to hold us hostage and we look
Yes.
up and it's 2028 and we like, what happened?
Yes.
I didn't grow.
Yes. Wow. That is so true. And you're right. N- a lot of us, and I will even admit to that myself, that I had to get to that point too and really just unlock those doors that were holding me back and make that decision to get out there and do all those things I want to do, fulfill my dreams and my goals, and just realizing that you do need mentorship sometime. You need to associate yourself with people that are doing things that are inspiring to you, or they give you that wow, kind of mentality. And so I absolutely love that. First of all, you don't look like you're in your 50s. Hey, we definitely don't look our age. And I think that that is another thing too, that at least for me, you know how you kind of you see maybe your relatives, and especially older ones, and their mentality of what certain ages are or what you've seen, and it's not who we are now. And so growing up and watching, our elders in, their 50s and 60s, it's totally different. And that's another sort of thing, like, oh, I'm not that person. I should be, I'm doing this and that. I'm exercising, doing all these things. I'm not just like, okay, I'm just going to sit on my front porch and, watch soaps all day.
Oh my goodness. You have literally expressed what I said to my family because, they grew up in a time where you got a job, you retired, and then you're supposed to enjoy life. And I was like, you know what? I'm not living life that way. I want to enjoy life while I'm living it and
Yes,
continue in the quote unquote retirement years. And really, it was that difference of a mindset that
yes,
helped me move in that direction. Now, was it scary?
yes.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
But I learned that it's important to become comfortable being uncomfortable because that's really where the magic happens.
Yes. Yes. Amen to that. Wow. Wow. You're speaking my language. I love that because you are very true. I think that retirement means something different today, and in my opinion, it's it's a shift. It's more like an enlighten of your life. It's your chance to live your life however you choose, whether it be to shift to another type of work that you love doing and you have the time to do, or it's to help people or to travel and or to do all of those things in one. It's your time. And so um, me being a retired person, I'm on my 11th year of retirement, and I never took I never looked back. You know, I've been just running with it ever since. And so I love your spirit and all of the things that you're saying. So definitely tell me about what led you to writing your book, and how did you get to that point of grow with me?
Absolutely. So let me just set the stage.
Okay.
I turned 49 one year, obviously
Uh-huh.
not now. And exactly 1 year before my birthday, my big 50, I started planning this big 50th birthday party.
Hmm.
And I was at a crossroads in life because for about, let's say, 20 years, I was operating as an entrepreneur, but I was still being a corporate hero, right? So I
Yes.
had, and we won't call it a 9 to 5 because I've never been a 9 to 5 girl, just
Yeah.
never.
Hmm.
But I knew that I needed to be in entrepreneurship full time. And so after I made my deposit for the big 50th birthday party, I started to reflect over, the close to 50 years of life. And I started to pen, if you will, my memoir about my life. Like, what do I leave behind when I'm no longer here?
Right.
And so I started going through this full plate of emotions
Yeah.
where I was, instead of writing the book down, I actually was speaking to a microphone in a Zoom room and was literally
Yes.
crying about, tears of joy, really just, man, you did that, right? Just really
Yes.
reflecting on all those things.
Right.
And as I started to tell my story, I started to shed the weight that was holding me back. And
Mm.
in the book, in the introduction, to hold myself accountable, I said that I was quitting that job.
Wow. Wow. Awesome. I love it. I love it. And so, in that moment, how did that make you feel?
I was afraid. And so, rightly so, chapter 12 of the book is titled Faith Over Fear,
Yes.
because I realized that what I was doing served me well for that time period. So you talk
Yes.
about being in retirement, and
Yes.
I, at 51, am in preferment.
Yes. Yes. I
And it
love it.
is really about doing the things that I prefer to do. And when I was
Yes.
writing, I was like, okay, wait a minute. 1989 to 1992, you worked at McDonald's, and I got into management at McDonald's. And then 92 to 2023, I was operating, in the healthcare space. And I
Hmm.
absolutely love healthcare. I still do some things every now and then, only the things that I prefer to do. But I realized that there was this whole group of individuals that needed me to help them with their growth journey because, like
Yes.
me, they were afraid are afraid, but they don't have a community to help them navigate it. And I'm
Yes.
thinking, since I made it on the other side, I
Yes.
should be able to tell others about, the fact that growth is a vibe, it is a
Yes.
journey,
Yes.
and give them some tools and techniques to navigate it.
Yes. Wow. Wow. You and I, we share a lot of the same story, as it relates to getting to that place of knowing when you've reached your time with uh, a company or organization, and making that leap, and yes, it is scary to an extent, but I would say for me, I absolutely knew that whether I was scared or not, I was going to do it. And I was prepared for the what ifs. I had answered all those what if questions. And I just knew, God gave me a, a vision, and I knew everything was going to be fine. And I trusted me, as a person, right? And that's something, like you said, people having those tools. Now, people around me doubted me like crazy. Oh, don't do it. You're making a big mistake. You're gonna regret it, blah, 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 blah. And I just turned them off. Thank you. I appreciate you, but hey, I'm doing this, and I never look back. And so I love this because it's like there's so much uncertainty out there. And I think when you working, like you said, you worked in the healthcare. I worked in environmental for a government agency for almost 30 years. And you're trapped into that whole scenario. Basically, you're working for that company, that organization, doing everything to fulfill their goals, and you have very little time for yourself, your family, and your own personal goals, right? Of course, a lot of us were doing multiple side jobs and little things, making a little extra here and there. But when you realize that you can apply that same energy to your own self, your goals, your dreams, and it's even more rewarding, right? Because you it's okay to be tired for when you're working for yourself. And so I
Absolutely.
just I love your story. I absolutely love it. So go ahead and finish telling me about your recording, and going through the various emotions that you go through when you're making a big change like that.
Absolutely. So, I think for me, the biggest barrier was that I was too comfortable. And
Hmm.
what I mean by that is, right, I had the full time job, which really wasn't paying me my value, right? They
Hmm.
weren't really paying me enough based on what I brought to the organization.
Right.
But I was also operating my consulting business. So I had money coming in from both places. So I was able to travel and
Yes.
do all the things. And so being comfortable, it was like, what is life going to be like on the other side? Like, am I going to be able to do the things that I've gotten accustomed to doing? But
Hmm.
what I ultimately realized, and we're talking about a year later,
Hmm.
what I ultimately realized was that A, I was going to be okay. I am
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
And while I can't do all the things that I used to do, I am housed in my
Yes.
house that I've been in for the last 20 years. I have
Yes.
not missed any meals, but it has allowed me an opportunity to really get in alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing now. I was
Yes.
not designed to do that thing forever.
Right.
And the reason that I know that I'm in alignment with my purpose is because it's easier. I
Yes.
feel freer. I don't feel like I got the weight of the world on my shoulders.
Yes.
And when I wake up in the morning and grab my gym bag and go to aqua aerobics on my
Yes.
own schedule, I
Right.
know that it was the right decision.
Yes.
And it took me a while to get to that place. But once I got there, I'm like, I'm not looking back. And
Yes.
so as I was recording the chapters, literally in some chapters crying, and like I didn't have a plan or chapter titles, right? I just was, I felt something and I decided I should record it. I remember
Yes.
one time I was sitting in the car with my husband. We were going somewhere, and it just hit me that I needed to record. And so I'm in this car, and he is completely quiet driving this car. I'm in the car just saying all these words, right? Just they just came to me so organically that it literally was a freeing experience. I felt like I was healed through my own writing journey. And
Yes.
the reason I was healed was because I talked about some things that I had never shared with anyone. For example,
Mm-hmm.
30 years ago, I had decided that I no longer wanted to be on this earth. And so in the book, I talk about that. I never shared that moment. Anyone that has entered my life, let's say in the last maybe 29 years, they had no clue that I had done that. And so as I started to talk about it and reflect on it, I'm like, you did
Wow.
that, girl. You know, you got
Wow.
to have, sometimes you got to encourage yourself.
Yes.
And so I realized that I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing.
Yes. Wow. Wow. What a blessing. I talk about that, and I had a couple of webinars, and I tell writers that oftentimes your inspiration is in those moments when you're in the car driving, when you're at, shopping or at the market, or in the middle of the night, you wake up and all of a sudden you have all of these, thoughts about your book, and to record it, your phone like you did with Zoom. That's the best way to capture exactly what's going on in your mind. And then when you go back, you can actually translate it right to text, and then you have that content that will definitely give you that wow moment, because like you said, there were things that you shared that you never shared with anyone. But writing is part of it, especially when you're writing your story. It's a cleansing. It is, it's a, you feel free, like you said, those strongholds, things that you either put in the back burner, or you kind of lock it away, and I'm not going to deal with that, just let that be somewhere, and eventually it's going to come up again, or you will get to that place where you want to address it, and you're in a different part, and that's the part that's cleansing, because when you go back to it at a different space in your life, then you can really put it away, you know, because you got that closure now. Like you went through it, you had time to think about it, and then you actually spoke about it. Wow. And so that right there, that's a healing like times 9,000, right?
Absolutely. And it allowed me to forgive myself for the
Yes.
decisions that I made earlier in
Yes.
life.
Oh my God, that gives me chills. Yes. That right there, you hit it right there. It's forgiving yourself. Woo, gosh. Wow. Wow. So keep going. Keep going.
So let's see what else I can tell you. There were times when I was writing the book where um, I felt conflicted about if I should say that or tell that.
Mm,
But I also realized that I had to tell it because there was someone that needed to hear about it. So I'll give you
yes.
another example. So in the book, I talk about my special needs daughter.
Mhm,
And, most people know that I have, one biological child, three bonus babies. They're all
mhm,
adults now. But when I went to talk about the things that I did for her,
mhm.
that was also freeing on a different level because
Yes.
when I found out that she was special needs, that's when this person who was just very bubbly and all of that lost her voice. And I
Mm,
lost my voice because I was suddenly responsible for being my daughter's voice. And as I'm sure you know, kids do not come with a user's manual.
right.
So I didn't really know how to navigate motherhood,
Mhm,
navigate being a woman, navigate being the mother of a special needs child. And
mhm,
so when I think about, and I talk about this in the book, some of the things that I did because, like, for example, I wanted to go to a party.
mhm.
And so I often ask myself, if you had to do it all over again, would you? And I believe the answer is yes. You make decisions based on the tools and the wisdom that you have at the time that you're making the decision. And
Yeah.
so I more than likely would have made those same choices. But since
Yes.
we still here, they didn't
Yes.
kill us, they made us stronger.
Yes.
But I also was able to reflect on the fact that during the pandemic, we brought my special needs daughter home. And I was so grateful that I was able to bring her home literally for 6 months during the pandemic. And life just kept going. And it kept going because I had went through that whole phase of life where I was trying to go to school and get my life together so that I could prepare for her future, provide for her. And ultimately, what I really, really, really realized was that God gave her to me for a reason. Didn't
Yes.
matter that her father said he didn't know how to raise a special needs child. So he checked out. It was my responsibility. And once I accepted it, that I could handle it, that's when I moved full speed ahead and did not
Yes.
look back.
Yes. Wow. 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 Amazing. And you said that you were chosen, she was given to you. Um, that our kids are given to us, and no, they don't come with a manual, but you have the tools, and whatever it is, as mothers, you just gonna love them and do whatever is needed to make sure that they're okay, regardless of whatever the situation is. um and so it really speaks mountains for motherhood, because when you become a mother, you know a lot of these things, there's so many things going on with your body and the transition, like you said, going to party, those certain things slowly come to an end, because as you mature and you realize how important you are in those moments when you have a little person that is looking to you for everything. And that's when, for a lot of people, that's when they really and truly mature,
Absolutely. You,
right?
you know what? And it's funny you mentioned that because earlier today, I was looking at my photo book
Hmm.
because people, I think, often think of me like, oh, she doesn't really go anywhere. I do go places, right? But I am very intentional about where I go because I want it to have an impact on my life so that I can help those that I serve. And
Yeah.
so I recently went through my photo album and found all of these pictures of me and my little outfits at these parties. And so I said, I'm going to make a post on social media with
Hmm.
my little photos because people make these assumptions about who you are and what you do
Yeah.
and what you don't do. And so I want to
Right.
show the world that, yes, I used to party,
Oh
but
yeah.
I'm doing a different type of party now than,
Yes.
going out to the club.
Yes. Yes. Believe you're speaking to the choir. Um, Same thing. I was one of those girls that, partied every single night, in my 20s. But once my children came and work and all of those things, operating my business and now, as you said, it's different now because it's really about, it has to be enough for me to go somewhere, like you said, for me to really say, okay, you know what, I'm going to attend this event because of either who's going to be there, that type of thing, the level of the people that are going to be there, and if it's worth my time, to because I'm an investment, for me to go somewhere, I'm a special person, and so I feel that, I'm gonna put in 100% effort, look, on point, a thousand, looking like $1,000 or whatever, and so I want to make sure that it is worth my time because I'm going to, communicate and be that, that person that is going to talk to people and meet new people and all of that. And so um, I found myself being that used to be party girl. Um, I found myself in the same situation where I'm like, wow, I see some of my friends, you see on social media, they're here, they're going everywhere. And I'm doing things that are important to me. Like you said, it's a different type of party. And I enjoy what I'm doing, because I feel that I'm doing a service that is serving so many people, and that gives me gratitude. Um, but I totally get what you're saying, because it can be looked upon like, gosh, you don't do anything. You're just, you're on your computer all day, or, everything is, you're still like working, but it's good work, it's rewarding work. And so, totally get that. I think that one of the most important ideologies behind that is to have balance.
Mhm.
Being sociable, and just have living a balanced life, being able to not just go to parties, but all kinds of different events,
Galas, right?
For-
Events where there are mover and shakers, right?
exactly.
And you know what? I realized that I had to surround myself with people who have surpassed
Yes.
where I am, right? Not in the
Yes.
in the in the club. with the same people that's in there doing the same dances we did from the
Right,
80s and the 90s,
right,
right? I want to
right.
be in the room with the folks that's making $1 million deals.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That is exactly it. And I just, as you mentioned that, that it's happened to me before where I've gone somewhere and I realize, you know what, this isn't my scene anymore.
And you feel uncomfortable too, don't you? Sitting in
Yeah.
there, or bored, like,
Yes.
like, I mean, it's like you give it the old college try, right? You try to, you hear the music, and you're like, okay, but after a while, you like, all right.
No. Yeah. Like, I think I better. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's what happens. And then you're like checking yourself like, wow, what happened to me? But what happened is you've elevated. Sometimes uh, my mom, she tells me what happens is you outgrow certain things. And so you're on another level. And like you said, I'd rather go to events where, there are, billionaires and millionaires in the room, people that I can learn from, I can network with, that can, help me to elevate, my game, what I'm doing. And that's a party for me,
Absolutely.
right? And so that's that's what happens when you have exceeded your basic level where you started. And it is kind of, it's bittersweet because you have to leave some people behind, right?
Absolutely.
People that you love, or that you've been friends with or what have you, but they're just not there. So wow.
And it's, you know what? It's okay,
Yeah.
because I realized, and I talk about in the book how I have this community, and there are different members of my community, and they serve different purposes, right? And that's
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that. So as you were getting yourself or we won't say getting yours, as you were r- like going through your life via your book, and you got, let's see, through your chapters, and you reread it all. Tell us about that experience and how you felt.
So first of all, I was like, I wrote a book. Now I have some books in the healthcare space, but this one,
Mhm.
was personal because it was about my life.
Right.
And once I got it in my hand and I started reading, I was just smiling as I turned from one page to the next. And recently I started recording the audio book. And so when I've recorded all the chapters. So now I'm listening to it, and
Yes.
I'm just like, I'm talking about me. Right.
Yes.
So as I was finishing it and then reading it, of course, my publisher had to tell me at one point, email me the copy that you have. You are done with. So let me just give this disclaimer. Having written a doctoral dissertation, I have this PTSD when it comes to writing. And so I
Yeah.
wanted to make it perfect, not realizing nothing is ever going to be perfect, right? And so I had to hand it over to her. And I had this sense of relief, accomplishment. And as I was nearing the end of the book, I was like, you know what? You love to journal. There needs to be a journal to go with this book. So as the reader is going from one chapter to the next, they can take some time to write their own thoughts
Yes.
based on their experience. Even though, it may not be the
Yes.
same, there are some lessons in the journey that I talk about.
Yes, I love that. I absolutely love that because uh, you're right. I think that that journal, it brings the reader closer not only to your story but to their own, because then in that moment they can jot down some things that comes to mind as they're reading chapter to chapter. You know, that happens a lot. You're reading something and all of a sudden your brain will shift over to something similar that happened within whatever it is you're reading, and you start thinking about that, and you kind of like marry the two, you know, as the conclusion, what conclusion you came with versus the book. And so um journaling, I love to journal. I have notebooks and you know, those little spiral, I mean, I just buy those because I'm always writing, and I will fill one up in like days right? So I think that journaling, it, of course, it's one of the foundations to even putting your book together. But having that coupled with your book, like I said, it just really brings that reader closer to the author. Like it makes it so relatable, you know, and then they can go back and like, wow, you know, because when you go back and read your own words in a journal, maybe like from some years ago, isn't it amazing? Like the thought process or whatever it was you're writing about. You know, when you go back
Absolutely.
and read it, it's funny. It's kind of a trip, you know.
It is. I mean, even when I read books, I highlight, underline.
Yes, yes,
I even go as far as putting the date down when I started that chapter. So if I, take a break, I'll put stop down at the bottom. But when I go back and reread some of the passages in the chat in those chapters, I'm able to reflect on how was I feeling then compared to
yes,
how am I feeling now. And
yes,
so when you talk about here we are a year later since the book was published, this girl here is a totally different person. And my husband
mm,
says, I'm so happy that you quit your job. I wanted you to do it a long time ago. But now, since I'm operating on my own schedule, I am walking in a creative space that I never imagined. Like I was
yes,
always creative, but
yeah,
now it's next level. I could just think
yes.
of things like, whoa, in
It, it's
seconds.
it's like an overload of creativity. It's all those things. I mean, and every day it's new things, you know.
Every day.
Yeah, it's new things. And it's just like you said, it's like wow. You know, it's something that you probably knew that you already had that, but you just didn't have the time and the space to really just let it be free and expand. You know, you could only really focus on it for a short amount of time, and then there's something else you got to do, or task or whatever it is. That's how I associated that. Once you are retired and you are doing what you want to do every single day, and you can make that choice every single day, you know, your schedule is never concrete. it can
Absolutely.
it can always be, you know, changed or tweaked or whatever it is that you want to do, that's what it is. And so it allows for you to just let your mind, you know, just go
Be
and
free.
dream and imagine.
Yes.
And yeah, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. So I totally can um, relate to that on so many levels. You know, being that retired or preferred person myself, not really retired, because I don't consider myself, that retired person as we were once told what retirement is. It's whatever you want it to be, and like I said, it's really an open gate for you to live your life to the fullest, with no restrictions. And for some people it's different things. It could be traveling, like you said. It could be, horseback riding, or whatever it is that, moves a person where they're in that space of, complete fulfillment. Um, but the key is you have that opportunity, that choice, and that's what it's about. Wow. And so your family, your husband's excited that you have retired, and that's a whole nother show, in relationships. Once you're home every single day and you don't have to leave and go somewhere for 8 hours or whatever, and you're getting to know your family in a different way, right? Because you're home, you're there. And so that's a lot of getting used to that too. It's like you there could be little changes there, because it's like, wow, I don't have to be anywhere. I don't
Y'all
have to
gotta log
run.
on for a
Right.
meeting.
Right. Right. I don't have to rush, to go anywhere. When you're in the market, you can let somebody that has one or two things go in front of you, because, oh no, I'm not in a rush, go ahead, help yourself. But so tell us, Dr. Lisa, where can we get your phenomenal Grow With Me book and journal?
Absolutely. So they both are available on my website at drlisalcampbell.org.
Awesome, awesome. And are any of your books on Amazon, or can they get? You said your journal is available on
The
Amazon.
journal is available on Amazon, but for
Okay.
some reason the book doesn't seem to be fully available on Amazon. I know Amazon is like the place to buy books.
Right, right. But you know what? It's also to your website. Everyone seems to go to Amazon for books and pretty much for everything, right?
Hmm.
But we definitely know that there are other ways to get your book out there, and you know, um, through your own group, your own resources. Websites are a great way to promote your book, and as well as on our magazine. We are globally distributed, and so we're super excited to grace your beautiful face on our cover. It's going to be amazing. And so, for all of our audience out there, you can go ahead and get Dr. Lisa's book. It's Grow With Me and Journal, and it's on her website, which is scrolling below. So, before we close out, Dr. Lisa, is there any closing remarks that you would like to offer to our audience?
Yes. So my words of wisdom are you owe you
Yes.
to make some changes in life, the ones that keep you up at night. You owe you to explore and make those changes. You will not regret it, right? Will it be perfect? No,
No.
but you will experience a sense of peace and calmness compared to not knowing what would have happened if you didn't do it.
Yes. Wow. Wow. Those are good words. Very good words, and very true. Very true. Well, it has been just a joy to have this time with you. I so enjoyed you. I feel like, we've been friends for a long time. We have so much in common. And like I said, I truly have enjoyed, talking with you, getting to know you, and, the sisterhood of, even though you're across the nation, there's a connection, and so I love your spirit. You're very inspiring, and a motivator. I can just feel that. So thank you so much for being on the Authors Lounge. And we welcome you back. Any future projects that come up, you're welcome to come back and talk about that, and bless us again. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All righty. Let's